Hi guys, it's Quinn here. If you enjoy my videos, consider hitting the like button. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm really notices me. Between demonetization and just the unstable nature of ad revenue on YouTube, and due to constant rule changes and increased censorship, YouTube isn't the best place for content creators. If you want to support the channel and make sure we stay afloat, consider checking out our Patreon. We've got all new perks including access to a Patreon-only channel on Discord, early access to videos, and a once-a-month patron-only live stream. Also, $10 and up patrons get a copy of the ebook and the audiobook version of my graphic novel, Tadia. We've got other perks like your name appearing in videos, and also special roles in the Discord server, and more perks to come. Check it out. Thanks guys. I've been covering the Three-Bodied Problem book series on this channel for quite some time now. Tencent just released the first 4 episodes of the television show adaptation. Want to know what I think? I'll be reviewing the show on my new streaming channel, Quinn Streams, link in the description. This video will contain major spoilers for Cixin Liu's Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy. The cosmos and its inhabitants throughout most of the series remains mysterious, but eventually more about the nature of the universe and those who live in it is revealed. Much of what we learn only adds to the cosmic dread that already permeates much of the series. The Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy by Cixin Liu paints a picture of cosmic civilization that is dark, lonely, and terrifying. A universe where infant civilizations on young worlds might call out into the darkness, seeking reprieve from the seemingly endless cosmic loneliness, only to find that they have revealed themselves to a hunter in the dark, whose weapon is now squarely focused upon them. This is the reality of life within the dark forest, but there are some who master this universe. In this video, we will discuss the various civilizations and groups known to inhabit Cixin Liu's universe. Part 1. Humanity. Following the Bunker era, Cixin and AA were the only humans to survive the dimension strike on Earth's solar system. After using a spaceship powered by curvature propulsion, they made it to one of the planets at star DX3906. Because of the effects of relativity, several centuries had passed from the perspective of Earth. While on the world, they encounter Guan Yifan, who had been one of the inhabitants of the vessel Blue Space, which had fled humanity's solar system long before the dimension strike occurred. From Yifan, Cixin and AA learned that humanity did in fact prosper, and there were several groups of humans living on several planets throughout the darkness. To understand how humanity accomplished this, we have to begin with Tianming and his stories, which had hidden messages embedded into them about how to survive within the dark forest. One of the messages involved the creation of a black domain. A black domain was essentially a region in space where the speed of light was lowered significantly. To an outside observer, the space surrounded by a black domain would appear as an empty region of space. Now, lowering the speed of light through a medium was actually possible, but lowering the speed of light through vacuum was something else entirely. The speed of light through the vacuum of space was one of the fundamental constants of the universe. To alter the speed of light was equivalent to altering the laws of physics, which only the most advanced civilizations within the dark forest were capable of. Research into lowering the speed of light through the vacuum of space began in the Bunker era. The black domain was considered as a secondary survival plan for the human race. Tremendous resources were devoted, and even a large-scale space city devoted to the research of the subject was constructed in the Saturn cluster. It was named Lightspeed 1. The creation of the Circumsolar Particle Accelerator led to the success of the largest project ever enacted under the Black Domain Project. This was the Black Hole Project. It was virtually impossible to create a local gravity field in a laboratory setting, which is why the Circumsolar Particle Accelerator was needed. It was capable of creating microscopic black holes. The book Death's End recounts the life of a man named Wei. He was the head of the Black Hole Project. Wei was a neurodivergent genius who became obsessed with the project, dedicating himself to the study of the speed of light. Due to his neurodivergence, he had extreme trouble with communicating with other people. Because of this, he was heavily closed off from the rest of humanity. Wei was tortured because of the way he was. He wanted to change himself, to love, to laugh, to join in on the dance of humanity. He developed an association between who he was and the speed of light. He thought that if he could change light speed, then he could change himself. But the speed of light through vacuum really was the most stable thing in the cosmos. Research into lowering the speed of light resembled torturing light without regard for consequences. People tried to do everything with light. Strike it, twist it, break it, dissect it, stretch it, crush it, even destroy it. But the result was, at most, a change in its frequency in vacuum. But the speed of light remained unchanged, like an unscalable wall. All these decades, theoreticians and experimenters alike were in despair. There was a saying, if there really were a creator, the only thing he welded shut in all creation was the speed of light. The circumsolar particle accelerator, as I mentioned earlier, could produce microscopic black holes, but these evaporated quickly. In order to produce a stable one, a microscopic black hole had to be injected into Jupiter's smallest moon, Leda. Leda had an approximate radius of 8 kilometers. They were able to lower the moon from its high orbit and change its orbit so that instead it became a body orbiting the sun, parallel to Jupiter. At the time, this was the most massive body humans had ever moved through space. The microscopic black hole, once it was injected into Leda, began to rapidly absorb Leda's mass and grow. The intense radiation generated by material falling into the black hole melted the surrounding rock. Soon the 8-kilometer radius, Leda, melted entirely, and the potato-shaped rock turned into a red glowing ball of lava. The lava ball shrank slowly, but glowed brighter and brighter until it finally disappeared with a blinding flash. Observations showed that other than a small amount of material ejected by the radiation, most of the mass of Leda had been absorbed by the black hole. The black hole was stable, and its event horizon had grown to 21 nanometers. Eventually, another space city was constructed around the black hole. This was deemed Lightspeed 2. The black hole itself was suspended in the middle of Lightspeed 2. Equipment and personnel could be brought into Lightspeed 2 in order to study the black hole. This being the first time human beings could study a black hole in a laboratory setting led to many discoveries which helped in the development of fundamental cosmology and theoretical physics. Wei became infatuated with the black hole. He would often hang against the protective net surrounding the black hole, staring into it from 5 kilometers away. As time went on, however, he became frustrated with the lack of progress. He came to despise the laws of nature, as well as fear them. He watched its luminescence, like we're doing now, and sometimes claimed that the black hole was talking to him, that he could decipher the message of its flickering light. Eventually, Wei was sucked into the black hole. He, being one of the principal physicists of the Black Hole Project, had the password to the protective net. In order to get a closer look at the object of his infatuation, he lowered it. He then drifted beyond the event horizon. No one knows whether or not this was an accident. Black holes, even outside of science fiction, are the strangest objects in the universe. Beyond the event horizon, all knowledge fails us. Nothing can escape, even light. This means that from the perspective of those outside the event horizon, an object or person would never actually enter the black hole. In Death's End, it is not clear what happened to Wei from his perspective. Under general relativity, a distant observer would see a clock near the event horizon slow down, and the process of Wei falling towards the event horizon would also slow down and stretch into infinity. But within Wei's own frame of reference, he had already passed through the event horizon. Even more oddly, the figure's proportions were normal. Perhaps it was because the black hole was so small, but tidal forces did not seem to be at work. He had been compressed into the nanometer range, but space there was also extremely curved. More than one physicist believed that the body structure of Wei wasn't harmed at the event horizon. In other words, he's probably still alive at this moment. The truth about whether or not Wei actually survived was never revealed in the series. Though Wei would never learn how to reduce the speed of light, the data gathered from the research of the black hole would be instrumental in the future development of curvature propulsion. Curvature propulsion would allow vessels to travel at light speed, but as a side effect, they would also produce reduced speed black holes, black domains. By the time Cixin and AA escaped the destruction of Earth's solar system and traveled to planet Blue in their own curvature propulsion ship, they find that the descendants of blue space and gravity, who make up nearly all of humanity, have now expanded greatly, independently developing curvature propulsion and black domains. Because galaxy humans, unlike solar system humans, did not have the stories of Tianming to help, they achieved these feats about 200 years later than solar system humans. Humanity in this era, the galaxy era, inhabited 4 separate worlds. It is mentioned that 2 worlds were currently being opened up for settlement. By this point in time, humanity had reached a crucial point in their development as a cosmic society. They were aware of the dark forest state of the universe. They had created curvature propulsion drives, and they had the ability to hide within a black domain in case of exposure to the greater universe. This was actually the fate of one of the human worlds. Something had occurred on World 3, which caused them to believe that their world's coordinates had been exposed. Their only choice was to turn their world into a black domain. After they covered themselves in their shroud, which they called a light curtain, it was impossible to send messages back and forth from that world to others, and no one on the inside could leave. The inhabitants of World 3 said it was a happy paradise, though I don't know if they still think that way. After the light tomb was completed, it was impossible for any messages from that world to reach the outside. But I think people there are pretty happy. For some people, safety is the sine qua non for happiness. It is mentioned in Death's End that there are some humans in the cosmos that take a rather interesting approach to life in the universe. By constantly approaching the speed of light in vessels called ultimate spaceships, they head for the heat death of the universe. Has anyone in the New World thought of going to the end of the universe? Of course. 5 ultimate spaceships have already been launched. Ultimate spaceships? Some call them doomsday ships. Ultimate spaceships, or doomsday ships, have no particular destination. By their calculations, 50 billion years from our frame of reference would be just 10 years in theirs. This means it would be possible to reach the end of the universe within a human lifetime. Humanity made a place for itself in the dark forest, which is more than countless others could say. But the future of humanity and the future of the universe itself remains uncertain throughout Death's End and throughout the spin-off novel Redemption of Time. This is because there were powerful forces throughout the cosmos, armed with the power to rip apart space-time, tearing the fabric of reality itself. One of such groups was the Zero Homers. Part 2. The Zero Homers. In the book Death's End, while on Planet Blue with Cixin and AA, Guan Yifan detects the presence of another vessel on the other world in the system, Planet Gray. When Cixin and Guan Yifan flew up to investigate, they found that it had been the mysterious Zero Homers, who were known by the physics-breaking death lines that their ships left in their wake. The ship approached the coordinates provided by the monitoring satellite, where 5 unidentified spacecraft had landed and then taken off. Yifan had planned to land the shuttle there and investigate the traces left by the spacecraft, but he and Cixin had not anticipated that the mysterious visitors would leave behind such large signs that they were visible from space. "What is that?" Cixin cried out. "Death lines." Yifan recognized them right away. "Don't get too close," he said to the AI. He was referring to the 5 black lines. One end of each line was connected to the surface of the planet, and the other end extended into space, like 5 black hairs growing out of planet Gray. Each line stretched higher than Hunter's orbit. "What are they?" "Trails left by curvature propulsion. Those lines are the result of extreme curvature manipulation. The speed of light within the trails is 0. Death lines were the blackest things in the universe. They present no details other than exceptional darkness. They seemed to possess no real surface, but somehow they showed clearly against even the blackness of space. The book also describes death lines as the deadest things in the universe. Since the light speed within a death line was 0, every fundamental particle inside of a death line was still. There were no vibrations inside death lines, no movement, and nothing could escape once it wandered into one. A death line, though it did not have a source of gravity, was essentially a black hole. A zero-gravity black hole. Anything that falls in cannot re-emerge. Yifan picked up a rock and tossed it towards one of the death lines. The rock disappeared inside the absolute darkness. At this point in human history, humanity's curvature propulsion drives could never come close to producing the type of curvature propulsion that would lead to the production of death lines. This was the work of an extremely advanced group. Galactic humans had come across these lines before, but they were rare for now. But considering the near-eternal nature of the universe, Cixin wonders how long before these permanent death lines littered the sky. Cixin gazed up at the giant black columns reaching into space. They lifted up the domed sky and seemed to turn the universe into a palace of death. Is this the ultimate end for everything? The group that left these death lines were known by 2 names to galactic humans: the Zero Homers and the Resetters. Both names referred to the ultimate mission of this group. The Zero Homers hoped to reduce the universe to 0 dimensions. They believed that this would trigger the reset of the cosmos, sending the universe back to the original state of 10 dimensions, which had been degraded over time by the warring life of the cosmos. Humanity did not know exactly who the Zero Homers were. It was also not clear whether they were a group of individuals of immense intelligence, a civilization, or a group of civilizations, but their existence was confirmed. The Zero Homers want to reset the universe and return it to the Garden of Eden. How? By moving the hour hand of the clock past 12. Take spatial dimensions as an example. It's practically impossible to drag a universe in lower dimensions back into higher dimensions. So maybe it's better to work forward in the other direction. If the universe can be lowered into 0 dimensions, and then beyond, the clock might be reset and everything returned to the beginning. The universe might possess 10 macroscopic dimensions again. Humanity actually did not know whether or not the Zero Homers' plan was even possible. Humans had witnessed the 2-dimensionalization of 3-dimensional space, but they had yet to see 1-dimensionalization, let alone 0-dimensionalization. We've never seen 1-dimensionalization, but somewhere, some Zero Homers must be trying. No one knows if they've ever succeeded. Humanity had, however, found evidence that some group, likely the Zero Homers, had been also attempting to lower the speed of light past 0. Since lowering light speed compared to attempting to lower universal dimensions was theoretically easier, reducing the speed of light past 0 would theoretically reset and turn it to its original speed of infinity or near infinity. Humanity was not privy to the theories that would suggest that this would be possible. Guan Yifan in fact believes that it simply was not possible, that 0 light speed was an impassable wall. 0 light speed. is absolute death for all existence. The cessation of all motion. Under such conditions, the subjective cannot influence the objective in any way. So how can the hour hand be shifted past it? I think the Zero Homers are practicing a kind of religion, a kind of performance art. We don't know exactly what knowledge the Zero Homers possess. We don't know how long they have been active. It could be possible that their mission has been going on since before the universe was three-dimensional. It is possible that their calculations are correct, that the universe can be reset. But it is also possible that Guan Yifan is correct, that the Zero Homers don't have an actual theory which suggests that what they are attempting to do is possible. The idea that a highly advanced group of beings have succumbed to a kind of religious thinking that will only work to destroy the universe quicker than it would be otherwise is pretty terrifying, but somehow it seems realistic to me. It is also possible that the Zero Homers are simply wrong in their theories. Either way, their actions will only serve to speed up the process of the universe's destruction. Part 3. The Race of Singer. Once humanity's location had been broadcast throughout the dark forest, it was only a matter of time before someone recognized the signs of intelligent life and acted offensively. This was of course due to the hostile nature of cosmic society. I explained this concept in my video, What Makes the Forest Dark? Essentially, all life that reveals itself on a cosmic scale is eventually wiped out by a higher race of beings. In the case of humanity, our solar system's destructors came in the form of Singer's race. Singer was an insignificant member of a distant alien world. They were immensely powerful. Singer's job was to analyze data. His particular job was seen as trivial and easy by the other members of his seed. It is mentioned that because of this, members of his seed thought of him contemptuously. Singer understood that what he did was not important. It just filled in the pieces, but it had to be done, and the task was enjoyable. It mentions in the chapter where Singer is introduced that 10,000 grains of time have passed since his particular seed left its homeworld. This is equivalent to 80,000 years. It is not clear exactly what is meant by a seed, but it seems to refer to Singer's particular group, perhaps genetically familial. It is also mentioned that Singer has accumulated the experience of 10,000 time grains, which implies that he has been alive as long as his seed has, or at least has a way of inheriting the experience of his ancestors. Singer describes his homeworld as once being a place of great joy, but now it was joyless, and so was his seed. It is mentioned that the happiness of his race's past was recorded in songs. He was called Singer because as he went about his assigned job, he enjoyed singing his race's classical songs, as it was one of the few forms of joy left to his people. It is not exactly clear, however, what singing actually means in the context of Singer's race. Throughout the chapter, Singer refers to humans and life forms like us as low entropy beings. Compared to Singer's race, we are unstructured, random beings. Up until the point in which Singer's race shows up in the series, we have only encountered the might of the Trisolarans, who pale in comparison to the might of Singer's race. There was of course the unnamed race of beings who destroyed the Trisolaran homeworld, but their method for the destruction of Trisolaris, firing a photoid from a ship, indicated that they were also at a lower level of advancement than Singer's race. This chapter also introduced the idea that a hiding gene and a cleansing gene exist among the life forms of the universe. This seems to refer to the inclinations of certain civilizations to hide themselves from the greater universe, and the inclination to offensively destroy threatening civilizations. Singer's race seems to be extraordinarily ancient. Singer muses that in the distant age, lower entropy clusters like Earth's solar system were rare and far apart. Singer's race had the capability to identify signals sent out by intelligent civilizations and destroy them with ease. The main core allowed them to do this. The main core's job was to pick up the coordinates, and it remembers all the positions of the stars. By matching the received data against various map projections and the position schema, it could pick out the coordinates of the message's origin. It was said that the main core could match the position of schema from 500 million time grains ago. To Singer's world, a low-entropy civilization like the human race, who did not possess the hiding gene, was dangerous. This is because without the hiding gene, they would not be afraid of exposing their own presence, and would expand and attack without fear. Singer's ultimate choice was to unleash a dual-vector foil to flatten the Earth's solar system into 2 dimensions. He did this while singing. There's a lot of mystery surrounding Singer's race. More details about them are presented in the spin-off novel Redemption of Time, but I want to keep this video in the main series. We will cover the events of Redemption of Time in another video. Part 4. The Higher Dimensional Microcosmos. The book The Three-Body Problem introduces a rather mind-boggling concept. The Trisolarans, when attempting to unfold a subatomic particle into 2 dimensions, encountered intelligent life within the particle. When viewed from the vantage point of higher dimensions, a subatomic particle could be exponentially vast. The Princeps was one of the few who kept calm. He asked the Science Council, "How complicated can the internal structure of a subatomic particle be?" "It depends on the number of dimensions of your observation perspective. From a one-dimensional perspective, it's only a point. That is how ordinary people think of the particles. From a 2- or 3-dimensional perspective, the particle begins to show internal structure. From a 4-dimensional perspective, a fundamental particle is an immense world." The Princeps said, "To use a word like immense to describe a subatomic particle such as a proton seems incredible to me." The Science Council ignored the Princeps and continued, "As we move to higher dimensions, the complexity and number of structures within a particle increase dramatically. The comparisons I'm about to make will not be precise, but should give you an idea of the scale. A particle seen from a 7-dimensional perspective has a complexity comparable to our Trisolaran stellar system in 3 dimensions. From an 8-dimensional perspective, a particle is a vast presence like the Milky Way. When the perspective has been raised to 9 dimensions, a fundamental particle's internal structure and complexity are equal to the whole universe. As for even higher dimensions, our physicists haven't been able to explore them, so we cannot yet imagine the degree of complexity." Considering the complexity of the internal structure of the proton within higher dimensions, intelligent life within one was not only possible, but likely. And what the Trisolarans encountered after attempting this first was undoubtedly intelligent life. It initially manifested in a form that most intelligent life would recognize. Eyes. Many eyes hovering in the sky above Trisolaris. The Princeps pointed to the giant eyes in space. "Do these show that the microcosmos contained within the unfolded proton harbors intelligent life?" "Our definition of life is probably not appropriate for the high-dimensional microcosmos. More accurately, we can say, that universe contains intelligence or wisdom." At first, the Trisolarans think that perhaps the eyes simply wish to demonstrate their presence. These beings, while normally confined to the microcosmos of the proton within higher dimensional space, were now manifesting in 3 dimensions. But the Trisolarans were wrong initially. This wasn't to demonstrate their existence. This was to mount an attack on Trisolaris, who they obviously rightfully viewed as a threat to their own microcosmos. The eyes floating above Trisolaris merged into one giant eye, and then transformed into a parabolic mirror used to scorch the surface of Trisolaris. The parabolic mirror focused the sun's beams onto the surface of Trisolaris. Initially, the spot of light was very large, and the heat at the focal point wasn't yet lethal. This spot moved across the ground, searching for its target. The mirror discovered the capital, the largest city of Trisolaran, and the light spot began to move toward it. Soon the beam was over the city. Those standing under the pendulum monument only saw a great brightness in space. It overwhelmed everything else, accompanied by a wave of extreme heat. Then the light spot over the capital shrank as the parabolic mirror began to focus the light more tightly. The brightness from space grew stronger until no one could lift up his head, and those standing within the spot felt the temperatures rise rapidly. Just as the heat became unbearable, the edge of the light spot swept past the pendulum monument and everything dimmed. It took a while before the crowd's sight readjusted to normal light. When they looked up, the first sight that greeted them was a pillar of light between the sky and earth, shaped like an inverted cone. The mirror in space formed the base of the cone, and the tip stabbed the heart of the capital, turning everything there incandescent at once. Waves of smoke began to rise. Tornadoes caused by the uneven heat of the light cone formed on several pillars made of dust that connected the sky, twisting and dancing around the light cone. The Trisolarans respond in kind, attacking the eye with nuclear warheads. The resulting devastation leads to the annihilation of the entire microcosmos, one of near infinite microcosmoses throughout the universe. It was at least an intelligent body. Also, Princeps, we destroyed the entire microcosmos. That miniature universe is immense in higher dimensions, and probably contained more than one intelligence or civilization that never had a chance to express themselves in macro space. Of course, in higher dimensional space, at such a micro scale, the forms that intelligence or civilization may take is beyond our imagination. There's something else entirely, and such destruction has probably occurred many times before. Oh? In the long history of scientific progress, how many protons have been smashed apart in accelerators by physicists? How many neutrons and electrons? Probably no fewer than 100 million. Every collision was probably the end of the civilizations and intelligences in a microcosmos. In fact, even in nature, the destruction of universes must be happening at every second. For example, through the decay of neutrons. Also, a high-energy cosmic ray entering the atmosphere may destroy thousands of such miniature universes. As I said, it is clear that the life forms within the proton's microcosmos viewed the Trisolarans as a threat. It is not clear whether this was a single civilization within the microcosmos or a collection of them working together in defense of their own universe. What is clear is that in the process of attempting to unfold a proton, the Trisolarans sacrificed potentially trillions of lives. I find this concept very intriguing whenever it pops up within science fiction. The idea that our universe is filled with countless smaller universes within it makes the universe feel even more vast and infinite than it already does. It also makes us wonder, what if our own universe was simply a microcosmos within another, grander universe? Our entire cosmos could potentially be destroyed at the whim of a greater civilization within a higher realm of existence. Part 5. The Trisolaran Destructors. During the war with humanity, the Trisolaran sent 2 separate fleets towards the Earth's solar system. The initial, slower Trisolaran fleet was lost forever to human history. The second Trisolaran fleet, however, has a fate that is known to all those who notice the interstellar dust cloud that was the result of their destruction. The second Trisolaran fleet, which contained the most powerful and fastest ships ever built by the Trisolarans before the destruction of their homeworld, encountered something immensely powerful and immensely destructive, presumably while in search of a new homeworld somewhere in the galaxy. We don't know much. The first and second Trisolaran fleets never joined together. More than 60 years ago, there was a large-scale space battle near Taurus. It was brutal, and the resulting wreckage formed a new interstellar dust cloud. We know that one of the sides in the battle was the second Trisolaran fleet, but we don't know who they were fighting against. We also don't know how the battle ended. My guess is that the second Trisolaran fleet was annihilated. The Trisolarans were powerful, but probably not powerful enough to contend with whatever they faced out there. Up until this point in the series, we have seen multiple examples of Trisolaran technology and weaponry, none of which seemed powerful enough to create an interstellar dust cloud as the result of its destructive capability. It could potentially have been technology that they developed later on, but I think this is unlikely. The Trisolarans at this point seem to have not found a suitable homeworld. Technological development for them aboard a space fleet would have been limited compared to if they had a homeworld full of resources. So I think it stands to reason that if they didn't have such powerful technology before they turned away from Earth's solar system, then they wouldn't have had it by the time they encountered whatever destroyed them. Though I believe the second Trisolaran fleet was annihilated by a more powerful alien group, I do not think this was the end of the Trisolaran race. Though humanity never learns what became of the first Trisolaran fleet, it is implied that they went on to perhaps inhabit new worlds, and in the end left their mark upon the cosmos. At the end of Death's End, the Trisolarans, like humanity and many others, are called together to restore the stolen pieces of the universe and save the cosmos from ultimate destruction. This, of course, indicates that the first Trisolaran fleet, like the humans of blue space and gravity, bred civilizations that survived long-term in the cosmos. Conclusion. One thing that all those who master the cosmos seem to share is their ability and willingness to stay well hidden. The first step in long-term survival in the cosmos is to hide from all potential threats, meaning all outside civilizations. It seems that those who master the universe are also distinguished in two types: those who hide and cleanse, and those who simply hide. Those who hide and cleanse not only shielded themselves well from outsiders, but took the initiative to eliminate potential threats before they became a problem. Because the so-called cleansing gene exists in so many civilizations, cosmic society is naturally hostile to all those who make themselves known. This seems to be a dark truth of the universe throughout most of the series, that is until the very end of Death's End. The ending of Death's End seems to suggest that cooperation between worlds will be the only way to save the universe from collapse and bring about the Edenic Age once again. It is not clear exactly who called this gathering, or how they gathered the names of so many civilizations in a universe where hiding was a method for survival. The ending of Death's End is shockingly optimistic, suggesting that even with the harsh reality of cosmic life, the ultimate solution could be the joining together of different civilizations. We will cover these events and the events leading up to them in Death's End in a future video. Okay, so now it's time to answer Patreon questions.
No, not again.
What are you talking about, Organism 9186? This is the first time we've done this, and we're gonna be doing it a lot more now that my Patreon has all new perks. Okay, so first question. Is the Tencent series only focused on the first book? As far as I can tell, it definitely is. I'm on episode 9 now, and they're really taking their time. They've even added scenes and expanded minor characters and added whole new characters. There's 30 episodes total, so they're really not going to have to drop any details from that first book, and I think that's a good thing ultimately. Next question. Greetings! For context, I've only just started reading the first novel of the Three-Body Problem series and watched the Cixin adaptation through episode 4. Do you have any thoughts as to why so many scientists responded to the physics not being real with committing suicide? Well, first off, I think you should finish reading the book because there are certain revelations that make things make a lot more sense. And I actually think it's a little bit more clear in the Cixin adaptation with the added scenes. Now, you're probably not going to be able to hear the answer to your own question if you don't want to be spoiled, but for everybody else that's listening, I'll go ahead. The Trisolarans are essentially already on Earth, or at least they're supercomputers, aka the Sophons. These supercomputers are what is making physics not work properly. And these supercomputers are the way in which Trisolaris communicate with ETO, the Earth Trisolaris organization, which has essentially infiltrated the frontiers of science, or maybe the frontiers of science is simply a front for ETO. It's a little bit vague in the book. Essentially, the frontiers of science locates important scientists around the world who are doing important work. It quote-unquote recruits them and then begins to psychologically manipulate them. We see this happening with Wang in the book and in the show, and the show also gives us examples of it happening to other people directly. With the use of the Sophons, ETO can project images right onto the eyeballs of their victims. Essentially, ETO is driving them to suicide.
Wow, that's pretty dark.
Yeah, Organism, I mean, Cixin Liu's not playing around, it's pretty dreary. Alright, moving on to our next Patreon question, which is kind of related. Good day, Quinn. I'll make an assumption here that you're referring to the first novel for your questions, and not the series Remembrance of Earth's Past as a whole. I would like to know your views on ETO, Earth Trisolaris Organization, and what it is in some detail. In particular, are they a fifth column supporting the invasion? Are they a cult? Are they just capitalists looking to exploit the situation? Are they all of the above and more? Well, Donovan, this is a great question. I probably should do an entire video on ETO. So ETO, as you mentioned, stands for Earth Trisolaris Organization. It was founded by Ye Wenji, who was the person who initially alerted the Trisolarans of Earth's location in space. Essentially, ETO supports the Trisolaran invasion, but there are also different factions within ETO. It's been around for several decades by the start of the book, and things have changed since its initial conception. So there are three main factions within ETO. You've got the survivors. They hope that by selling out the rest of humanity, that they and their children, their offspring, will be granted special privileges and spared from the worst of what the rest of humanity will get. And then there are the Adventists. They are the closest to what ETO originally stood for, and they just straight up hate the human race. They want to see it destroyed. And then finally, the most interesting group, the Redemptionists. They have formed a kind of religion based on the Trisolarans. They see them as a superior species. The Redemptionist main thing is trying to solve the three-body problem itself, trying to figure out a way to predict the movement of the three sons of Trisolaris. Optimally, they hope that by doing so, Trisolaris can just stay in their own system and not come to Earth. And then later in the books, we've of course got the wall breakers, but we will get into that in the future. I will definitely make a dedicated video on ETO later on.
Wow, I should start the Earth Trolleon organization.
You know, I'd love to see you try it, Organism 9186. Everyone should seek out their own dreams. Anyway, next question. I'm curious about your thoughts on the VR scenes as well as the glimpse of the Trisolaran world. I assume you're talking about the Cixin TV show. I really enjoyed the episode that showed the game for the first time. It was neat to see that sequence realized. That's such an awesome, trippy part in the book. And I think the Cixin show holds up pretty well, even though it's a little bit different. As far as the glimpses of Trisolaris that we've gotten so far throughout the show, we haven't seen very much, but everything's been pretty cool looking. If you want more details about what I think about the Tencent show, I'm going to be streaming all about it as the show continues to air on my new streaming channel, Quinn Streams. You can subscribe to that channel if you want to catch all of those live streams. Alright, looks like that's the last of our questions. Let's go get some ice cream, organism.
Yay, I love ice cream.
So we've got some great news, guys. Quinn's Ideas officially has a Discord. Now my goal is to make this Discord a great place for all science fiction fans to come and talk about science fiction, share their favorite books, share their love of science fiction stories and concepts while having a lot of fun. I'm really excited about this new way to engage with my community and to create more connectivity between my viewers. I hope you will join us over on Discord. Thank you so much. Just a heads up for those of you that may be interested, my next graphic novel, The Lie Behind the Star, is launching February 2023. You can sign up now to get on the email mailing list to get notified as soon as it launches. More information on my website, link in the description. Thank you guys so much.